Welcome to Good Morning Macomb. My name is Spencer Andrew, and for the next 30 minutes, I will interview the mayor of Macomb, Michael Inman. Good Morning Macomb started as a morning soft news show in the broadcasting department. However, it stopped production in 2019. We are reviving the program with a new local focus dedicated to providing engaging interviews and entertainment news to keep you up to date with the newest trends. So strap in and enjoy the ride as we bring the new revamped Good Morning Macomb. Welcome to Good Morning Macomb, Mayor Inman. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we'll talk about your career and some of the city's more recent developments.
Sure, glad to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let's get started. So looking at the rest of your term, what are your top 2 to 3 priorities for Macomb?
Sure, so as you're aware, Spencer, got 2 years left in this current term. I'll be up for re-election in 2027. So we've had some initiatives come up on the horizon within the last 12 months that frankly are getting some very good traction, some positive support within the community and with the city council. One of those is a proposed sports facility complex.
Heard about that.
We're not building this, essentially not building this as solely a quality of life issue for the city. It is that, but it's much more than that. About a year ago, my counterpart in our public-private partnership with economic development, Kim Pierce, who's the executive director of the Macomb Economic Development Corporation, we have, for the last 10 years, attended a retail commercial conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. And not to get too far down a rabbit hole, that's how we've gotten some of the more recent retail store investments in the community. But this past May, almost a year ago, we were asked to meet with a gentleman that we had a relationship with as an economic developer and in a whole nother genre, but he was representing the field of sports tourism. So think about it. You may be, as a young person, have been, when you were a little younger, on a traveling sports team. Not strictly a high school or junior high school organized effort, but a sports team outside that. I know that, for example, my wife and I had several children in that type of extracurricular activity where on weekends we were driving 2 and 3 hours away, spending dollar after dollar after dollar, supporting our children and what they were hoped to gain from that. Well, that has become a whole field and economic development component in and of itself. This gentleman shared with us from his perspective, his group that he was representing, about how that might look, about them coming to Macomb, seeing if that was feasible, and then going about the development of that economic development project from there. That again was last May. We introduced the gentleman came here, met with myself, Kim in person, toured the community, met with senior members in the administration, and we rolled that idea out to the council for consideration late last fall. We also took an opportunity to get other partners in the community, not only MADECO, but the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Park District, the YMCA, McDonough District Hospital, the Chamber of Commerce. All those come to the table and say, this is what we think would be a good direction for Macomb to head. We knew from the beginning it was going to be an expensive undertaking, and we knew that for it to have its most likely chance of succeeding, we need other partners in the community, not necessarily financially, but to support the idea. So that is moving forward. We got the initial pro forma from the company that we contracted with to come in, look at the prospects, say, first of all, is it feasible? What component of it is feasible, or is it not feasible? I think many of us were prepared to hear, no, this doesn't work. That's not the pro forma that came back. So that's one of our big priorities. That's not yet a done deal, not yet moving completely forward, but we're edging that way. First and foremost, we need to find a way to pay for it. And at the end of the day, it's a $50 to $60 million project. We don't have that money laying around, and we'd have to find a way to finance it. What I've told folks in the community, as we've been talking about it, is absolutely, will this not be borne on the back of property owners? Right. No property tax increase. If that's the only mechanism in which we can finance it, it's not going to happen. Right. We just, as a community, as a region, we cannot do that. We won't do that. There are other options, and we're looking at all of them. We should have a direction from the council on how that might look by June, and through this consulting process, it will be a third party that would be charged with programming and running that facility. And from the concept to the completion is about a 30-month process. So, you know, that's within that time frame of the next 24 months. So that's one priority that we're pursuing. We continue to pursue a new water treatment plant, a new source of water for the city and the university, migrating away from surface water supply to Spring Lake, not going away from the recreational activities out there. That's owned by the city. It's managed by a third party for us for a fee. But there are inherently problems with surface water as a water source. We've done a good job of producing good water from that water source, but as EPA requirements change and often become more strict, moving from surface water to deep wells is our next concern, and that's about everything's got a multi-million-dollar price tag. Yeah. That's about a $30 million undertaking. We've already done the initial phases, and we'll be looking for that design to become complete and likely to go for bids by the end of this calendar year. That's a priority for me. It's a priority for the city in general. And as we continue to look at growing our other economic expansion, whether that's new retail, new commercial, and one of our priorities has been and will always be supporting the university in every way, shape, or form that we can. Obviously, the institution has been under some pressure, some challenges, and particularly in the last 2-3 years. Yeah. It actually goes back a little farther than that, but they've become critical. We appreciate President Mindrup's position and where she's at, some of the things she's trying to do here. The community as a whole supports what she's trying to do, and we know that it comes with some pain, with some pain for individuals, and we understand that. We appreciate that. We're here to support them individually as well as best we can as a community. But this institution, we're locked at the hip, and when it succeeds, the overall community succeeds. And when it's challenged, we all bear those challenges. So has been from day one a priority, a good relationship with the institution, and that will continue to be a high priority for us.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this awesome new sports complex that will be built. Can you tell me if you know how many jobs it will support?
Good question. The performer calls all those things out. It will be a third party. It will not be the city. The city will likely own the facility. Yeah. We will not run it. Okay. The Park District, although they're partners, they will not run it. This will be a third party contract, but we would expect the majority of those positions to be filled by people here in the community. Or the positions that are filled would mean people moving to the community. So think about all the components there. You're talking about, first and foremost, someone to manage and program it, likely 2 different individuals, an overall general manager and a person in charge of programming, and all the things that are going to supporting a facility that occupies 8 acres of space here in the community and programmed for events, as many as maybe 30 to 40 events per year. Not all of them would be sports related. Yeah. Its initial concept, initial design calls for 8 basketball courts and 6, or interchangeably 16 volleyball courts. The idea is to bring large numbers of people in to compete on weekends, but it's also a venue that's going to be flexible enough that it has a capacity of seating for up to 4,000 people. That's either in an arena fashion for a championship type sports event, whether that's volleyball or basketball, or you name it, a concert, you name it, a conference, you name it, a trade show. It's incumbent upon us to find a third-party vendor that has those contacts already in place. And as we've kind of rolled this out, it's been particularly intense the last few days. We've met with our employees. We've also had subcommittee of the city council meet and deal and talk about some of the details as they evolve. But the idea being is that when you're talking about 30 to 40 events a year that are driving a couple of thousand people in the community, that's sure an economic engine that we want to take advantage of. And it takes the place of, in many cases, requiring more people to physically live here. There's two ways you get economic growth. You're growing as a population, or you're creating a dynamic where people come to you, even for a short time, and spend money. And that's what, and again, I'm sure there's any number of people that may be listening to this that are in the throes of that as parents, or they recall it as that occurring when they were youthful. They'd go somewhere for a weekend full of activity, spend hundreds of dollars, and the performer, for example, calls out that people coming into the community for these types of events usually spend about $140 per person per day that they're here. That's a pretty significant amount of money to just say, well, no, we're not interested in trying to capture that.
Yeah. So. Awesome. So let's give everyone a short breather, and we will be right back with some of Hollywood's latest rumors.
One of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history at Post nightclub in Orlando.
Walking into the building for the first time after the shooting, it was crippling, but it had to be preserved. If you're an ally of this community, speak out. There are more of us together than apart. It is the power of love in its rawest form.
At Western Illinois University, each student brings their own unique background and unlimited potential. You work side by side with compassionate, encouraging faculty who connect you to personalized learning experiences and give you the opportunities to map your own future. Your potential, our purpose.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Because when you talk, they hear you.
Welcome to the University Union. Serving as the center of campus life, the Union is a great place to hang out with friends for lunch, meet with a student organization, attend events, or take advantage of one of our lounge spaces to study or relax in between classes. The University Union is here for you.
Let's dive right into the juiciest part of today's show, Hollywood's hottest rumors. First up, whispers from Marvel's MCU suggest that fan-favorite actor Timothée Chalamet might be gearing up to play the role of Gambit in a reboot of the X-Men franchise. Disney is remaking Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and Zendaya is in final negotiations to star in the leading role of Kida. It would be a match made in heaven. There are also whispers about a potential return of The Office in some capacity. It could be a reunion special featuring the original cast of a reboot. Fans are eagerly waiting more details. That's all for entertainment this week. Stay tuned for the conclusion of my interview with Mayor Mike Inman right after this break.
At Western Illinois University, leathernecks don't just blend in. Our purple stands out. Our students are innovative, creative, and resilient. At WIU, there's limitless potential, with campuses in Macomb, the Quad Cities, and online. Visit wiu.edu/potential to become a leatherneck and get an education that stands out.
I'll be here to hear what's on your mind. Take this time to talk and get it right. You know I'll be there all your life.
Little everyday conversations about the dangers of underage drinking can make a big difference in a child's life. Talk, they hear you.
At Western Illinois University, you will explore your talents in a place where you belong. No matter where you come from, no matter what you want to do, we believe in where your potential will take you. Learn more at wiu.edu.
Attacks against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Welcome back to Good Morning Macomb. Mayor Mike Inman, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. What's a recent city accomplishment you're particularly proud of, and why should residents be excited about it?
Well, I think probably one of the most things being talked about here, particularly in the last year or so, is the redevelopment of the Kmart building. It was an eyesore, it was empty for close to 7 or 8 years. And from the first day that we heard that they were closing until now, it's been our goal at the City Hall and working with our partner at Maidco to redevelop that. Yeah. And you know, during the last 7 or 8 years, there's been all sorts of rumor and innuendo on what could and should go there. At the end of the day, we were convinced that the best opportunity for the city for the redevelopment of that, and when I say the city, I mean the entire community in general, meeting the needs of several different constituent groups, was like we had been seeing in so many other communities across the country, where you took an old big box retailer that had went out of business and taken a space and then subdivided it so that it looked like 3 or 4 new businesses. And you know, for a short amount of time, we were looking at a redeveloper who wanted to come in and turn it into a storage facility, not the highest and best use. The city of Macomb gets the overwhelming amount of revenue that we get is generated through sales tax. It's not property tax. We only generate about 2%, 6% of our 2 million, 6% of our overall budget is based on property tax revenue. The rest is all sales tax and other fees that we collect. So retail is important to driving the ability for the city to continue to do what it does every day, by provide police, fire, public works, all those things that you count on a city to do. So it's been a labor of love for the last 5 years. It's been very intense. We've worked with the former owner. We've tried to develop, worked with a developer that was originally wanting to do the concept that has evolved into what's there now, but they couldn't get the finances together to pull the trigger. And eventually we partnered with, and I say partner as a loose kind of connotation, convinced a developer by the name of the Carrington Company to come in and do exactly what's coming about. We have a brand new TJ Maxx store that'll be opening here in the next couple of weeks. Hobby Lobby, there's a third and likely a fourth retailer that will locate there. That'll be a national brand that I think most of the folks in the community would at least recognize, whether they frequent or not. They know that they exist. and quite honestly, Kim Pierce from Maidco and I have met in those stores as recently as this Monday with both of the store managers, and as we look in there and see the building to come in completion and stock being put in, it was a little overwhelming for a minute. I won't say emotional, but you know, this is something that's been near and dear to our hearts for the last 5 or 6 years. It's consumed a lot of our efforts, and to see it coming to fruition was really, really cool. Really cool. And we're hoping that the community, so far the community seems excited about it. There's been any sorts of comments, oh, it'll never happen, and they're not coming, whatever. It's the reality is that it is a done deal. And we'll be doing a ribbon cutting and a grand opening at TJ Maxx on April 13th at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's a Sunday. Folks may want to get up a little earlier than they normally get up on a Sunday. And I would say in the near future, you should be able to drive by Hobby Lobby, and the doors will swing open. You'll be able to go in and transact some business there as well.
Awesome. So speaking about the recent new developments, whether it's the new sports complex or the TJ Maxx and the Hobby Lobby coming and whatnot, how is the city doing financially? Are there any major budget challenges or opportunities residents should be aware of?
So we're finishing up the budget process now. Our fiscal year starts, actually ends April 30th, starts May 1st. We've been in the process of building this budget as going as far back as late December, met with department heads, got their requests, looked at financing, both their requests for spending money and our ability to make money. And I will tell you that even though the process, the draft budget was only brought before the City Council for discussion this past Monday, the council's been involved since January in the details of building our budget. An all-in budget, including all sources, is around $48 to $50 million, but part of that includes about $25 million set aside for a new water treatment plant. Yeah. The actual, what runs the day-to-day operations of the city, what most people would see as how we work, is about a $12 million part of that budget. It's the general fund. It pays police, fire, and our public works folks, pays me, City Hall folks' salaries, keeps people out doing what citizens believe need to get done. That is going to be lopsided this year. We're projecting about $1.5 million deficit there. At the end of the day, we would have told you when we started this fiscal year's budget almost a year ago, we were projecting a similar deficit, and in fact it's the other way around, where we ended last fiscal year with about, we projected we'd be ending this fiscal year with about a $5 million reserve. It's actually going to be closer to $6 million. And as we look at the end of this projected next fiscal year, we'd be looking with at a reserve of a little over $5 million. And if history holds true, it'll be closer to a balanced budget. We tend to overestimate expenses, underestimate revenue. Now you're talking about are we experiencing any revenue declines? We did undertake special census. Those numbers are back. We received a positive increase in population. It's not what we had hoped. We had thought maybe it would be closer to around 1,500 people. It's more like 500. That's still enough to pay for that special census and see a net gain moving forward through the balance of the next 5 or 6 years. Again, not what we hoped, but a lot of, again, what drives our revenue is sales tax and shared revenue we collect from state and federal dollars, and those are all based on population. So at the end of the day, there's the challenges that we're faced with, we're dealing with. We've seen some increase in revenue, the sin taxes, so to speak. We have a dispensary here. We levy sales tax there. We have a number of video gaming parlors in the community. Maybe those are capped, most of them for that, speaking of that. But last year, for example, we got about $143,000 in revenue from video gaming terminals here in the city. That number will increase because the number of those facilities is increasing. Not the way we prefer to balance the budget. One thing, again, our tax levy is flat, so the property tax your property taxes should not greatly go up because of the city of Macomb anyway.
Yeah, I really like that idea that it's mainly through sales tax that helps raise a lot of revenue, because where I'm from in the metro area of Chicago and out in Wheaton, I know my dad pays, and my parents pay a lot in property taxes, like north of 40 or 50 grand.
Well, as a parent, I'm glad you recognize that because that is a significant challenge for home ownership. Well, and backing up just a bit and talk about property taxes, one thing I can assure people, and if there's anything, politicians tend to stay away from the word guarantee, but I will guarantee that if we will not build this new sports facility on the back of the property tax owner or the property owner, and we're certain there's other ways to do it, but if it comes down to any impact on the property taxes, it won't happen. It just simply won't happen. That's my commitment as the mayor, and I feel that's the same commitment the council has as well.
Thank you, Mike Inman, for joining us. Our next show's feature guest will be D.C. Wright, the director of WIU's theater department's production, Phones Off. I will also discuss the latest in entertainment and fashion. From everyone in the studio to everyone watching at home, have a good morning, Macomb.